welcome into Gamecocks in the Kitchen. I'm your new host, Meredith Almond, bringing you simple, easy recipes that you can take back to your apartment or your dorm. Today we're going to be making a turkey chili with a homemade grilled cheese, so let's get started. So I have all my ingredients ready to go, laid out. I have 1.5 pounds of turkey because I like a lot of turkey in my chili. I have olive oil because that's how you're going to heat up the pan to brown your turkey when you get started. My secret ingredient for chili is taco seasoning, and I just think it adds a little bit of extra kick that you don't get a lot of times in homemade chili. The base of your sauce is going to be these crushed tomatoes, and they just add a really great flavor to it. And the most important thing, I think, are the chili beans. With the sauce in it, you don't want to drain your beans, and all of these spices. So I have some cumin, I have paprika, and I have chili powder and oregano. So all of this stuff kind of just gets mixed together. I'm going to have to chop up my onion before I get started, and we'll be good to go. So when I cut the onion, I cut like a checkerboard. You want to cut this way, and you want to cut this way all the way across. So then when you slice down like this, it's already diced for you, and you don't have to go back and dice it again. So now that I've cut my onion, we're going to go ahead and brown the turkey. And while the turkey is browning, we're going to mix in the onion with a little bit of chili powder and cook it all together before we add the other stuff. I'm going to pour some olive oil in the bottom of this pot, and then we're going to put the turkey in and brown it before we add anything else in. So let's just open up our turkey. And I did wash my hands before I started cooking, so make sure you always do that before you touch any raw meats and after you touch any raw meats, because it's not sanitary if you don't. So I'm just going to lay this turkey in the bottom of the pan and let it heat up a little bit. You want to make sure your olive oil is heated, but not so hot that it's popping off at you, because the turkey will start to burn and it'll just turn into these hard crumbles that aren't going to taste good in your chili. So I'm going to set this down under here, and I'm going to go wash my hands again before I touch anything else. Now I'm going to add a little bit of chili powder to the meat. I'm just going to sprinkle it over the top. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it's sizzling a little bit, which is awesome. It means it's going to start smelling really good in here. Especially now that this chili powder is in here, this turkey is going to be so flavorful. Alright, so the turkey's cooking up a little bit. I'm going to take my spoon and I'm going to move all of the turkey over to one side. I'm going to pour a little bit more olive oil in here so I can add my onions. I'm going to let those cook off to the side by themselves, and then we're going to mix it all together before we keep going. Alright, now that we have the turkey and the onions in here cooking all together and the juices, we're going to add our tomatoes and our beans, garlic, and all our spices, and then we're just going to let it simmer for about half an hour or so, let it all heat up and cook together until it's good. So, start by adding the tomatoes so the bottom of the turkey doesn't burn on a hot pan. Give it something to cook against. Add our beans, and remember I said do not drain your beans when you're putting them in, because you want this chili juice. Okay. Scrape the rest of that into the pot. Make sure we get all the flavor that we can. Give that a good stir. Make sure everything's covered by the tomatoes and the beans. Then we're gonna add just a little bit of everything up here. Not really following a recipe, just kind of following what I feel is right. So you guys can take it as you want it. If you like garlic, add a little more garlic. So I'm just gonna do about half a tablespoon in there of minced garlic. And then I'm just gonna sprinkle all these other spices in here, just to keep adding flavor to it. You can always go back at the end and add more if you need to. Sprinkle a little bit of that in there. And then paprika, we'll do the same thing. Paprika, and then same goes with the oregano. Oregano has a really strong flavor, so you don't want to put too much of this in there. Just sprinkle a little bit over the top. Then we're going to stir all of that around. Maybe turn your heat down a little bit. I can hear my chili starting to boil. You don't want it to do that, you just want it to cook slow. So make sure you keep stirring it. And then we're going to add the last ingredient, which I think is the best ingredient, and that's the taco seasoning. I'm not going to add the whole packet of this, but I am going to do about half of it. And once again, if you find out that you really like it, you can always add the whole pack. So there's that. And then I'm going to give it another good stir. Now all there's left to do is just wait. I'm going to turn the heat down a little bit. It's going to simmer. I'm going to put my lid on it. I'll come back, check on it every few minutes and give it a good stir. But then all we have to do is wait, and then we get to eat. So it's my favorite part. We're still waiting on our chili. We have about 15 more minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it over to this burner, and I'm going to go ahead and make the grilled cheese. So we can have both of those at the same time. And I'm going to put it on low just so it stays warm. We don't want it to really cook anymore. I'll put that over here. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off while I'm getting everything ready. So I have my bread out. I've had it sitting out while I was doing everything. A really good trick for grilled cheese is to leave your bread out for 2 days, just so everything will kind of like hold together better. If you get new bread, it's often really soft and it'll fall apart while you're cooking. So letting it sit out just gets it a little bit, not stale, but it just gives it a little bit more texture so it'll hold together. Now, one thing that I like to put on my grilled cheese is Duke's mayonnaise. Being a Southern girl, I was raised on Duke's mayonnaise, and we put it on practically anything. So I'm putting it on my grilled cheese. So this is definitely just a preference. I like it because it makes it not as dry, and I like mayonnaise on anything. So I'm gonna butter or spread it on the bread. Don't want to get too much, just give it a little covering, and then move on to our cheese. Now, for today, I am making grilled cheese with Pepperjack cheese. I'm going to put a couple slices on there. Once again, it's up to you for your preference. If you like a lot of cheese, put a lot of cheese on there. I'm going to kind of ration it out, so I'm going to put 2 slices. And then I'm also going to add some shredded cheese. Shredded cheese melts a lot quicker, spreads out a lot better. If you're using a chunk of cheese, you need to make sure that you cut your chunks thin, like this, so that they're easily melted when you put it in the pan. I'm just going to sprinkle some on here. We're also going to use this cheese later when the chili's ready. We're going to sprinkle it on the top of our chili. I'm going to press it together. Now I'm going to heat up my pan. So, like I was saying before, you don't want your olive oil to get too hot. Some people like to make grilled cheese with butter, but today we're going to make it with olive oil. So I'm going to put it on about 3 or 4. I'm going to get the olive oil hot in the pan. And I just put a little bit in there. I'm going to lift my pan up and spread it around. Make sure that you, I don't really know what this is called, just move your pan around until the olive oil can spread out all over. You don't want the flavor to overpower cheese. So I'm going to let that heat up a little bit, and then as soon as that heats up, we're going to put our sandwiches in, flip them over a few times, and they'll be ready to eat. While that's heating up, I'm just going to give our chili another stir, make sure it's doing all right. Let's see. It's a little bit warm. It could be a little hotter, so, while it's cooking, just make sure you check up on it every now and then. I'm going to bump up the heat a little bit. We want it to be hot when we serve it to our guests, so. I'm going to go ahead and lay our sandwiches in the oil. Do that. So, add a little bit more. We don't want all the oil to burn up in our pan. Right now I'm just kind of making sure that they're all covered, heating up in the pan evenly. Some cheese did fall out, so I'm cleaning that up. And the next thing to do is just, you want to kind of wait. In a minute we're going to lift up the bread with our spatula. It's going to get really hot, so you want to be careful. And then when the bread starts to brown a little bit, then we're going to flip it over. And do that a couple more times until the cheese is completely melted, and then it's ready to eat. That while you're cooking your grilled cheese, you're taking your spatula and you're pressing down the sandwiches a couple times. As the cheese melts, it's going to keep those slices together, so it'll be easier for you to flip and it won't all just fall apart in the pan. So sometimes you may have to use your hand. I'm just going to tell you to be really careful. Obviously you're working with hot oil, and there's nothing worse than a hot oil burn when you're cooking. So, bread is browning a little bit. We're just going to keep flipping it back and forth. I'm sure you guys all know the most important thing is to get that cheese melted, and sometimes that takes a little while, especially if your cheese has been in the fridge. So something I do recommend is leaving your cheese out for a little bit while you're getting all of your ingredients together, so it's not as cold when it goes into the pan. Well, this is something my mom used to always make. Chili and grilled cheese. Anytime it was raining, and well, today's a rainy day. So my mom would always make her famous turkey chili. We would always make a grilled cheese to go on the side and just have one of those warm meals on a cold night. And just something that we always did when I was a child, and I'll probably continue to do it the rest of my life. Now, if you're using a metal pan, just beware. Some of the bread will end up sticking to your pan. It's just going to be a pain to wash later. But your sandwich might tear up a little bit, but it's not going to affect the taste at all. To counter that, you can add more of your butter or your oil, whichever you prefer. Alright, so just take your spatula, pull your sandwiches out, lay them on a plate. And you have grilled cheese. It's going to be the perfect complement to our chili. Our chili is ready, so we're going to go ahead and serve that as well. Like I said, it's always best to serve these right off the grill, right off the stove. So let's eat. Ready to eat?
Yes, I'm excited.
Let's do this. Okay, ready?
It looks delicious.
1, 2, 3. You know what? You know what that tastes like?
Damn good chili.
That's right. That's right.
Let me try one of this grilled cheese.
Today's meal turned out. I think the chili is great. I think the grilled cheese is great. Wickham here agrees with me, and I'm glad to have another opinion because I think I'm a little biased. But thanks you again for watching Gamecocks in the Kitchen, and we'll see you next time. This is a day of first for you. First time eating turkey chili, first time having mayonnaise on your grilled cheese.
Yes, this has been a transformative day all around.
You'll never eat the same again.
Probably not.